Kyle Richards makes major admission on Crush Morgan Wade. Before the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Kyle Richards met Morgan Wade. She had never, ever questioned her sexuality, but as public speculation about their close friendship ramped up, Kyle found herself on an uncharted journey of self-discovery. When the chatter first started happening, before the music video and all that would never have crossed my mind, she explained to host Andy Cohen during rhobh Season 14's Reunion Part 3. I have a very specific type. And I started thinking, is this a crush? I don't know. After some lighthearted banter with sister Kathy Hilton, Kyle continued, it did make me think, well, what is going on here? Maybe I'm not seeing something. How Kyle Richards' daughters reacted to Morgan Wade dating rumors. Later, relentless press speculation about the nature of Kyle and Morgan's relationship amid her separation from estranged husband Mauricio made Kyle realize that she needed to address the rumors as well as how she was questioning her sexuality with her four daughters Alexei Umansky, Portia Umansky, Sophia Umansky, and Farrah Brittany Aljafree. Honestly, it was just a really proud moment for me as a mom, how my daughters reacted, Kyle shared at the reunion, adding, it was a very uncomfortable, hard conversation to have. I wanted them to be always proud of me, and I didn't want to embarrass them. Though all four girls were very supportive, 16-year-old Portia's response particularly touched the rhobh mom. She came over, and she put her arms around me, and she said, I love you, and there's nothing you could say that would make us not love you, Kyle recalled. It gave me the freedom to say, "Ok, I can do what I want and be who I want, and do what makes me happy, regardless of where I end up and who I end up being with." Kyle may have a love life update to share in the not-so-distant future, too. While discussing Mauricio's very public romances, she announced at the reunion, I want to move on in that aspect too, and I will be very soon. Why Kyle Richards didn't want to discuss Morgan Wade on rhobh Season 14. During the rhobh Season 14 group trip to St. Lucia, Kyle clarified that there's no situation with Morgan. One day, maybe I'll have a great story to share with you guys, she answered after Garcelle Beauvais called out her secrecy about the country singer. Maybe I will, maybe I don't. Kyle's reluctant explanation for no longer discussing Morgan on camera, albeit vague, was more than she'd divulged most of the season. The reason? Morgan did not sign up for this show, she added during Part 1 of the reunion. She does not want to be part of it. She's not a part of the cast. Revealing that Morgan previously filmed rhobh Season 13 as a favor to her, Kyle elaborated. What ensued after that created a lot of anxiety for her, and she didn't ask for this life. A story inspired by Kyle Richards and Morgan Wade. The truth has a rhythm, like the low hum of a song just beginning. For Kyle Richards, that rhythm had started quietly, like a heartbeat she didn't know wasn't hers. A shift in the mirror. Kyle Richards had long mastered the art of compartmentalization. In her world, the glimmering chaos of Beverly Hills, the high-stakes emotion of reality TV, and the razor-sharp edges of public scrutiny, this skill was not just useful but necessary. And yet, no amount of training could prepare her for the feeling she got when she looked at Morgan Wade. It wasn't immediate. Not in the dramatic, head-turning way romantic films teach you to expect. No, it was slower, deeper. The kind of realization that started in the silence between songs. Morgan had walked into Kyle's life with the raw energy of a thunderstorm, guitar in hand, a raspy laugh, and lyrics that seemed to bleed honesty. They had first met through mutual friends at a charity event, where Morgan performed. Kyle wasn't supposed to stay long, but the music made her sit down. The lyrics made her stay. I never questioned the wind, Morgan sang that night, eyes closed, lost in the music. But I feel it every time you leave. Whispers in the garden. As the months passed, their friendship grew. They worked on a music video together, a favor Kyle offered to Morgan, who was hesitant about the spotlight but trusted Kyle more than she'd expected to. The rumors came fast and relentless. "What's going on with you two?" Andy Cohen had asked, with that signature grin during the rhobh Season 14 reunion. Kyle had laughed nervously, but inside, a storm brewed. When the chatter first started, before the music video and all that, she told Andy, "That would never have crossed my mind. I have a very specific type." And I started thinking, is this a crush? I don't know. Her sister Kathy chimed in with a lighthearted jab, but it only made Kyle's smile tighter. Kathy didn't know. Not really. Not yet. And Kyle herself, well, she was only just starting to understand. Daughters and daring truths. The moment that kept her awake at night wasn't the reunion. It was the night she sat on her couch, legs crossed under her, heart pounding as she looked at her 4 daughters, Alexia, Portia, Sophia, and Farah. She hadn't prepared a speech. What words could possibly fit this moment? "I need to talk to you all," she had said gently, barely above a whisper. They looked up, 4 pairs of eyes, all versions of her own. She felt like she was standing on the edge of a cliff, trying to explain the wind before leaping into it. "There's been a lot of talk about me and Morgan," she began, her voice faltering. "And I just want to say, I'm questioning some things. About myself, things I never questioned before." Silence. It stretched long and wide between them, a canyon of unsaid things. Then Portia, just 16, stood up, crossed the room, and wrapped her arms around her mother. "I love you," she said, "and there's nothing you could say that would make us not love you." Kyle cried then, not because of fear or shame, but because of the deep, aching relief of being seen. "I wanted them to be proud of me," she would later say at the reunion. "I didn't want to embarrass them." But there was no embarrassment, just understanding and love, the melody beneath the noise. In the days that followed, Kyle felt something unfamiliar settle into her chest, possibility. For the first time in years, maybe decades, she considered the idea that she didn't know everything about herself. That identity wasn't a closed book, but a living, breathing thing, like a song that changed key halfway through. Morgan didn't ask to be part of the media storm. She didn't sign up for this show, Kyle explained during the reunion. She does not want to be part of it. She had tried to protect her, to pull the curtain tight and keep the world out. But secrets, even the well-intentioned ones, have a way of seeping through. What ensued created a lot of anxiety for her, Kyle said. She didn't ask for this life. And yet, there was no denying what was happening between them. Morgan had become more than a friend. She was a mirror, a muse. A reminder that truth, when whispered long enough, becomes a song that demands to be sung. The weight of almost, not everything between Kyle and Morgan was easy. There were long pauses between texts. Stretches of silence where both women retreated, one into the pressure of cameras, the other into chords and tour buses. But they always returned to each other. Sometimes it was a coffee left on Kyle's doorstep. Other times, a lyric in one of Morgan's songs that sounded just a little too personal. "I want to move on in that aspect, too," Kyle had admitted during the reunion, "and I will be very soon." No one knew if that meant Morgan. Maybe not even Kyle. Street Lucia and the secret song. During the rhobh Season 14 trip to Street Lucia, Garcelle had pressed her. "Why won't you just talk about it?" "There is no situation," Kyle said, and it was almost true. But not the whole truth. One day, she added, "Maybe I'll have a great story to share with you guys. Maybe I will, maybe I don't." And that, perhaps, was the most honest answer she could give. Because stories like hers weren't clean. They didn't follow neat arcs or end with a final kiss under fireworks. They were jagged, beautiful things. A love story made of silence and storm, glances and guitar strings. The music video that changed everything, that video. The one Morgan did as a favor. It had changed everything. Kyle remembered the first time she watched the final cut, alone in her living room, hands trembling around a glass of wine. There was a moment, just a moment, where their hands touched too long to be casual. Something electric passed between them. The world noticed. So did Kyle. Uncharted territory. Before Morgan, Kyle had never, ever questioned her sexuality. That wasn't a line she thought she'd ever cross. Not out of shame, but because she thought she knew herself. But maybe self-knowledge wasn't about answers. Maybe it was about asking better questions. Like, what makes me feel alive? Who makes me feel understood? Morgan had not walked into her life like a romantic lead. She'd arrived like a challenge, a disruption, a song without lyrics. And Kyle? She was learning how to sing again. Love and other unknowns. Love, real love, rarely announces itself with trumpets. Often, it shows up quietly. In vulnerability. In conversations that make your palms sweat and your voice break. Kyle hadn't planned for any of this. But somewhere in the quiet between who she was and who she was becoming, there was Morgan. Not a destination, not a label, but a person. One who made her feel something she hadn't felt in years, possibility. A door slightly open. Today, the headlines still swirl. The fans still guess. But Kyle's not rushing to define what's happening. Not anymore.